Are the Glazers ready to finally sell Manchester United? We're going to talk about that. Are they going to go behind Sir Jim Ratcliffe's back? Joshua Zirkzee already having conversations with Manchester United and INEOS about a potential move in January. Has it already been agreed that Zirkzee can go in January? Will Mainoo be able to go in January? Obviously, rumours and reports of Kobbie Mainoo not being happy because he's not getting a whole lot of minutes. We will talk about that. There was reports and rumours coming in that Bruno Fernandes had already agreed to leave Manchester United, but that was soon debunked by Fabrizio Romano. But Bruno Fernandes has spoken about the rumours coming out about him and Saudi and his position under Amorim, because there's also rumours that he doesn't like the position he's playing. We're going to talk about some of the men's comments and more. And I just realised my intro slides weren't actually showing there. So this is what we're going to talk about in today's video. And if you do enjoy today's video, feel free to hit that like button. You're welcome to subscribe if you're new. But every single day I am doing 10-minute news roundups. So you're up to date on all the latest Manchester United news in less than 10 minutes. Let's dive into it. So, Charlotte Dunker, who works with Sky, said this on a potential Manchester United takeover. Now, if you're not aware, there's rumours coming out of Saudi about UAE having talks with United, it being advanced, them looking to buy United, and the Glazers actually looking to sell the club for good. Chris Wheeler then added some context to that, saying, look, there is people in the UAE with interest in United. Talks were added, there is people in the UAE with interest in United. Charlotte Dunker has now added, there is potential that the Glazers could sell the entire club. I think for the right price, they definitely would. Now, she's not saying they will sell the club. She's not saying anything is ongoing, but she's saying if the right price came in, they could now be willing to sell the whole club. The club isn't making them really any money at the moment. We're not in a good place, and a big offer of 5 billion plus comes in. There is a feeling that the Glazers could finally be ready to sell Manchester United, which would be absolutely amazing news. But could it be to Ratcliffe? Could it be to Qatar? Could it be to the UAE? Who knows? But obviously the big links have been with the UAE, because there is a guy who's very well connected in Saudi saying that the UAE is having talks with United. And even Chris Wheeler mentioned that the UAE is having talks with United, but he doesn't know if they're put in a bid. Now, one of the things Chris Wheeler mentioned was that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's deal to buy Manchester United and buy some shares of United included a drag-along clause, which took place in August, enabling the Glazers to open talks with investors without Ratcliffe's knowledge and force him to sell his shares, which obviously INEOS aren't going to be happy about if they do that. Now, INEOS will be offered the opportunity to buy Manchester United at this price, and if they say no, and Man United find another buyer, then INEOS will have to sell their shares in Manchester United. And look, if an offer came in of 5 billion plus from the UAE and the Glazers like that, INEOS aren't going to be happy, because the Glazers could force INEOS out. Now, it doesn't feel like INEOS are going to go. The money being invested into the team, the money they spent on the new Carrington, the money they spent on the stadium, the way that INEOS are acting, it feel like they don't want to go and they want to be here for a long time and they want to be given time to turn things around. But ultimately, if the Glazers decide, you know what, we want to sell, INEOS have no control over that. And it has already been said that, there's potential that the Glazers could sell for the right price. There is interest, but will the UAE make that bid that the Glazers want? Apparently, they're interested in United. Apparently, they're really interested in United. But are they using Manchester United for clicks, for PR, for media attention, or are they looking to buy United? Who knows? But I'm very skeptical about all this takeover news until we get anything from Romano or Ornstein. I'm very skeptical about it. I do sometimes feel like Man United could be being used. Until we know a bid's gone in for sure, until we get a big Ornstein and Romano bomber, I'm skeptical of all this full sale news. I don't trust the Glazers. I don't trust the news. I think people use us for clicks. I now want to talk about Joshua Zirkzee. Now, this was a report on Joshua Zirkzee. I am told that Zirkzee has had conversations with United and they are aware of his situation. He wants to go to the World Cup finals. He won't be given that if the current status continues. This means a move, and that will be worked out before January. So what Graham Bailey is saying is Zirkzee's had conversations with the club. He's not going to get to the World Cup if things continue the way they are, because he's not going to play second choice striker. We've got a load of number 10s. This means a move will be worked out before January. I'm reading that as Zirkzee's had internal conversations with the club. They said we can't promise you the amount of minutes you want, and they've already internally agreed that Zirkzee can go. That's how I'm reading it. I'm reading it as Zirkzee's exit's maybe been agreed internally that he can go in January, because if something happens to Sesko, then we'll put Cunha up top. Now, I don't want Zirkzee to go, but if we can't give him the minutes, then he probably needs to go on loan. I wouldn't want him to go permanently, because I think if we get into the Champions League next season, we would want him for depth. We'd want Mainoo for depth. I don't like the idea of Zirkzee and Mainoo going because they're two good players, two very technically gifted players, two players that can add a lot to the squad. But because we got knocked out the EFL Cup so early, because we're not playing in Europe, they're not getting the minutes, and it's frustrating because they're good players. Rob Dawson was on the United stand today, and he said that Zirkzee and Mainoo will speak to United before the January transfer window if they do not get enough game time. If they left, Amorim would need to replace them, but it's very difficult to find replacements in the January window, especially replacements that are not being guaranteed money. Like, I think Zirkzee and Mainoo are good players, particularly Mainoo, who can still bring a lot to this team, and they're not getting the minutes. And I think with Mainoo, when you see Agati play over him and how bad the midfield is, it's kind of weird the lack of minutes Mainoo's getting. With Zirkzee, I can understand he's second to Sesko, third to Cunha. It's going to be difficult for Zirkzee to get minutes. They're not going to get minutes, and I can understand why they want to go. But they're two players I think can add a lot to this United squad. So I wouldn't want them to go. And if Sesko gets injured, then we might need Zirkzee. And it's a big risk to take, saying, you know what, we'll let Zirkzee go and we'll think about Mainoo. But there's two players that want to go. There's two players that want minutes. And it's going to be a difficult situation for United. We know from reports out in Italy, like Gazzetta, that Napoli do remain interested and could move for Mainoo on loan in January. Apparently, Mainoo's first choice is Napoli as well. And Mainoo right now is unhappy with his limited minutes. He's been working really hard and feels hard done by, and I get that. With Zirkzee, we've got loads of 10s and Sesko's number one. With Mainoo, it is Anagati's playing over you. And this player's been playing out of position and the midfield's been bad and you still can't play. And it's like, what does Mainoo need to do? Mainoo wants to go to the World Cup. Zirkzee wants to go to the World Cup. The problem we have with this season is we're not in Europe. But the season we're not in Europe is World Cup season. So all the players want to play. And because all the players want to play, because this is World Cup season, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. Because we don't have the games. If we're in the Europa League and we're still in the EFL Cup, we're rotating. Mainoo and Zirkzee are playing a fair amount of minutes. But because we have one game a week and so long between games, we can't rotate as much as we normally would. And while I think we've got a much squad than last year, you can see there's players that are good players, that are good squad players that I think, arguably should be starting more, now looking to leave, which could be big losses. So Bruno was asked if he closed the door to moving to Saudi Arabia because of the World Cup. He said, I didn't close the door to a move to Saudi because of the World Cup. That was never on my mind. I just wanted to stay at the club and the club wanted me to stay, that's all. Now, what we know about this whole Bruno Fernandes Saudi situation was there was talks going on. Bruno took a few days to make a decision, but we know that Amorim wanted Bruno to stay. We know that INEOS, I think, had mixed feelings. Look, they weren't going to say no to 100 million for Bruno, but we know Amorim specifically wanted Bruno to stay, and we know that. Like, he's a very important player, even if he's not the best player deeper, and even if he doesn't fully suit Amorim's system, he's a very good player. He's a very important player, and I think Bruno was felt that he was needed by Manchester United. It would have been the wrong time to leave, and there was rumours and talk of his family just not wanting to move to Saudi as well. And that is why he stayed at United. That's what he's saying. He's saying right now it just felt like the right time to stay at United. He's not saying, I'm not going to move to Saudi. He's not saying no to Saudi in the future. And there's a possibility he could go to Saudi at the end of the season. But he's saying this is why he stayed. The club wanted him to stay and he wanted to stay. He was asked about the deeper role and that he's playing at United because obviously reports have come out that he's not happy playing in that deeper role. And look, Bruno's not going to come out and say that he's unhappy playing in a deeper role. Bruno's not going to come out and slam Amorim because Bruno is a professional footballer. But one thing about Bruno, whether you like him or not, he's very good with his words in interviews and how he talks. And he said, I love playing football. Oh, I'm going to cough. One sec. I'm just having a coughing fit. I had to pause there. He said, I love playing football. Whatever the position, they can put me at fullback, winger, goalkeeper. I'll always give my best. Everyone has their preferences, but we have to adapt to the coach's ideas. I adapt to the team because the team is what matters. And that's such a professional answer. Look, we know Bruno wants to play further up. We know Bruno likes to create, and we know that Bruno would rather be playing further up creating because he plays better. He can be a liability in the sixth role. As good as Bruno is, as much as he's our best player, he doesn't suit the six. He can be a liability there. But he just loves playing football and he'll play anywhere. He wants to help the team. And he understands that because we've got a lot of number 10s, the best fit right now is for him to play deeper. He understands that job and he does what he's asked to do because he cares about the team. And it's a professional response. We know he'd rather play further up, but he's not going to say that. He's just happy that he's playing football and is playing for Manchester United. And last but not least, talking about a player that's happy they're at Manchester United, Sen Lemens was asked about the new Carrington, and he said that it's very nice. I think we have everything here to succeed, to help us in our training and get ready for the games. So that's not an excuse. It's also a step up from Antwerp. When I came in the first time, it was really eye-opening. So positive things said by Lemens about the new training facilities, and that's one thing INEOS have done well, which says to me, look, if the Glazers went behind their back to sell after they'd done all that, INEOS aren't going to be happy. Let's be totally honest. But anyway, thank you for watching today's video. See you next time. Bye.